I'm Southside Tre. This is Worldwide Classic. Let's get straight to it. We all just witnessed John Cena's last match. And we ain't even gonna play no games today, because we already know what it is. John Cena lost his match to Gunther and he tapped out. And before he tapped out, he smiled as he was being strangled. This has been the talk of the town, and there's a lot of controversy involved. Gunther put John Cena in a chokehold. But before John Cena was in any real danger of actually being unconscious, this man just smiled at everybody and gently tapped out. This is what Triple H and the WWE thought would be a great idea for John Cena's last match. You got mixed feelings about this coming from the wrestling community, because I've seen people like myself that can't believe this that I just saw. And then you have the other half of the constituents that felt like this was great storytelling, that this was poetic, the way that John Cena voluntarily gave up. I guess you could call what I'm gonna say an opinion. But I would like to think that by now, when we talking Worldwide Classic in the world of pro wrestling, we just telling it like it is. But like I've said before on this show, I'm not the biggest John Cena fan. This is why the ending of John Cena's career is such a mystery to me right now. Because throughout John Cena's career, I've seen him do things that I just personally thought John Cena shouldn't have been capable of doing. This man has a victory against almost every WWE superstar that you could think of. But not only that, John Cena never taps out. This is not me rooting for John Cena. This is me simply acknowledging the character that John Cena was built on. This has been installed into the makeup of the John Cena character. And with one match left to go, this is the time to bow out in that way. I'll be honest, I thought that WWE was about to make John Cena's last match possibly one of the greatest matches of his career. Because when you look at this retirement tour, he had a match like SummerSlam against Cody Rhodes when he lost the WWE Championship. Even with that result, that was a classic match. And you could automatically put that in the top 10 of John Cena matches. But considering that this is John Cena's last year, and that we've all seen him take a step back inside of the ring, it was highly impressive to see him compete at that level, because that's the same level we thought he was going to compete at WrestleMania. But that didn't happen. But that's neither here nor there right now. I'm going to take it a step further and say that SummerSlam was John Cena's greatest match on this retirement tour. I could say that number 2 easily was Crown Jewel versus AJ Styles. Those two matchups made me believe that his last match would be an instant classic also. Now, let's also keep in mind, I was not a fan of Gunther being the opponent ever. I was afraid of this very thing happening. For one, Gunther already just retired Goldberg, and we saw the circus that was. I had a problem with that, but I let it go because that's Goldberg. That's about as good as it should get for Goldberg to retire as a Gunther. But for John Cena, this is something different. And I had to wait a couple of days to speak on this because I needed to let some things play out. Because kind of like what I just said, I'm not just a guy here looking to just put out content. Because if that's the case, I could have spoke on this as soon as it happened. I needed a few days to gather my thoughts. I wanted to make sure that everything sunk in and that I wasn't just reacting off of the moment. Monday Night Raw was last night, and we saw the type of crowd reaction and heat that Gunther got from the crowd. We should already know that that's what comes with retiring John Cena. It didn't matter the outcome of the match. That was going to be the result anyway. That's why it was imperative and important who the last opponent was going to be. It wasn't just for the sake of it being the John Cena's last retirement match. It was about setting up the next superstar for the next 10 years. Because if that wasn't the goal, what the hell was the point? This is John Cena that we're talking about. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of his. But that doesn't matter when we're ranking WWE superstars. The way that Vince McMahon set up his system, John Cena will go down as one of the greatest. It's no coincidence that he broke Ric Flair's record of 16 world titles. The WWE/Vince McMahon wanted John Cena to go down as one of the greatest. Because when you look down the line of these type of guys, you could talk about Hulk Hogan, you could talk about Macho Man, you could talk about Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, The Rock. John Cena is on that list. We're talking about people that were the generational stars of their time. This is a pretty big damn deal, is what I'm saying. So whoever retired John Cena, it means something. It almost means more than winning the WWE Championship at this moment in time. And that says more than I ever could. Just think about that. Retiring John Cena holds more weight than actually holding a world title right now. The fact just still remains. This was a huge opportunity and a one and only opportunity. I'm not mad that Gunther got this shot because I like the way that he reacted Monday night with the crowd. This is a make or break moment. The WWE just let us know that they believe in Gunther. 2,000%. This man has retired Goldberg and John Cena in the same year. That's all the evidence and proof you need. In case you didn't know by now, Gunther is Triple H's guy moving forward. And now there's rumors that Gunther might retire Brock Lesnar next year. This is getting out of hand for me personally. The reason that we have shows like Worldwide Classic and other wrestling outlets is because we're fans of professional wrestling. If people can't appreciate that, then that's fine. Just let us be so we could talk our talk. In life, if you care about anything, then it bothers you when somebody mistreats that thing. I'm somebody that's a true fan of pro wrestling, so I care about the sport. This sport in the WWE's hands has been mismanaged and mishandled. So you're absolutely right. I'm pissed. This isn't even about individual matchups per se. This is about the history of the WWE. In case people don't realize, this is one of those things that could lead us forward, but we can't take back. Gunther has to be the guy now. More than just Triple H and or WWE saying it, the history of WWE has now invited Gunther in a major way. You just retired two of their legends. So I'm going to just say this one more time for the sake of not sounding too repetitive. For Goldberg, Gunther was just fine as a last opponent. That didn't matter for me one way or the other. But it was a good look for Goldberg because Gunther is a great wrestler. But for John Cena, this is completely different. John Cena is Mr. WWE. He's the guy, whether we like it or not. And he just passed the torch. Whoever was going to be in this match was a torch passing type of match. And that's why for me personally, I'd rather see somebody like Jacob Fatu get this type of spot. I find it kind of crazy that out of all the time for Jacob Fatu to be away from WWE, it's during the entire John Cena retirement tour. I mean, maybe that's just me, but they always say it's no such thing as a coincidence because I just find that odd. Gunther shouldn't just be the one guy that retires all of the legends in WWE. For what reason? Especially when you're trying to build multiple stars. Is it crazy to think about having a guy like Jacob Fatu also retire WWE legends? That way, when you have a matchup like Gunther versus Jacob Fatu, they have that added history. They both have been guys that have taken the torch. It shouldn't just be Gunther accomplishing that, especially since so many people have a problem with Jey Uso. Jey Uso just beat Gunther at WrestleMania. So for all of the people that feel like Jey Uso is not on the level, what story are we telling right now? Jey Uso could beat Gunther on the big stage like WrestleMania, along with Sami Zayn a year prior. But when it's not on the biggest stage possible like a WrestleMania, Gunther can't be defeated. Gunther has taken 2 L's at WrestleMania back-to-back with people that you could basically say were the underdogs, were super underdogs, because nobody seen Sami Zayn or Jey Uso winning those matchups for those titles. A few months ago, we saw the disaster that was WrestlePalooza, and we saw Brock Lesnar get down on John Cena, to say the least. He threw John Cena all over that ring, and John Cena didn't stand a chance. But John Cena didn't quit. He didn't give up. You get your whoop like that, but then you get put in a basic chokehold and you smile and tap out? Because if that's the case, from where I'm sitting, what was even the point of having the match then, if you're John Cena? If you just wasn't going to fight until you had nothing left and you were just going to give it up, you should have just had a ceremony and said Gunther was the guy. That doesn't make sense from what I would like to believe is wrestling psychology. A guy like John Cena that was hell-bent on winning all of the time, on and off the camera, knowing this will be the last time that people will see him compete, he willingly gave up and smiled as he was being strangled and choked. You know, I actually talked about this next thing in an episode a long time ago, but I never even put it out because I thought I was being overly critical of Triple H. And that's not the goal that I'm trying to accomplish. I'm just calling it like it is. But some of these things might be too complex and too heavy for a lot of people to process. But I think with things like what we saw at John Cena's retirement, I think it's safe for me to speak my mind a little bit more. Is Triple H trying to sabotage these wrestlers? Because I'm looking at guys like Seth Rollins, who's out with injury right now, and who had a pretty big storyline going on. But even within the storyline, Seth Rollins looks like a joke. The character, the outfits, none of it is matching up with the type of competitor that Seth Rollins is. He's out here acting like a damn clown. And from that, I started to feel like this is a sabotage. Because how can you take Seth Rollins serious when he carries on the way he does? If you like any other type of sport and you have a team that's your favorite team, when they don't play well, you should be able to call it like it is and say that they're not playing the way that they're supposed to be playing. I'm from Chicago, and I was never going to take up for the Chicago Bears when they wasn't playing well. That wasn't me being overly critical. They wasn't getting the job done. They're treating these stories as if they really just don't give a damn. They can't care about the history of the sport 10 and 20 years from now. This is the highlight reel you're going to show for John Cena's retirement? That he smiled as he was getting his ass choked to death? But I sat there and watched WrestleMania 13 with Bret Hart and Stone Cold. Two guys that are considered two of the best wrestlers ever. Not just in some circles, all over the world. The Hitman and Stone Cold. And at WrestleMania 13 in Chicago, these people put on a masterpiece of a wrestling match. Me as a kid could recognize it. With a kid's brain, I was able to decipher that that was a masterpiece. And then now to this day as a grown man, now you're almost hearing every wrestling constituent label that match as their favorite match. The point is, the end of that match was a work of art. And you saw Stone Cold refuse to give up. Bleeding all over the ring, in the sharpshooter, can't use the ropes because there's no rules. And him being stubborn and refusing to quit, he just passed out. He lost the match. But that was the same night that he gained the entire wrestling world. Because from that moment on, Stone Cold is considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest, WWE superstars of all time. And that moment helped cement that legacy. So forgive me if it seems that I'm overblowing this. And I hope I'm explaining this effectively enough. This similar type of situation with Stone Cold helped turn him into one of the greatest superstars of all time by refusing to quit and just passing out. The WWE had an opportunity to make John Cena's last match a masterpiece, similar to Bret Hart versus Stone Cold. And it didn't have to be the same match. It just had to be that same spirit of never give up. We should have saw John Cena get his ass whooped in that match for over 40 minutes. This should have been something that's inspirational and a classic. That again, 10, 20, 30 years from now, people could go back to John Cena's last piece of work and call it a masterpiece. The moves didn't have to be perfect. He didn't have to invent a new move set. Just have a real fight with Gunther. And let Gunther try to choke John Cena out 3 or 4 times. Let these people keep fighting and let John Cena keep showing that he's not about to quit for his last match. And about the 5th or 6th time, Gunther put that chokehold on John Cena. Then finally, he just passes out. He literally gave us everything he had and left it all in the ring. That's not what we saw the other night. This man was sitting there wide awake, fully aware of what was going on. His body language and face made it seem like he wasn't even in any real pain. He just like, you know what? I'm good. I give up. Y'all got it. No, we ain't got shit. What we got is an embarrassment to the WWE history. We don't get moments like this every day. Because you don't get John Cena caliber wrestlers every day. And Hall of Fame careers in this way every day. These things mean something. But see, that's me being naive as a wrestling fan. Because I'm not even taking into account that this was on Saturday night's main event. See, sometimes the evidence and proof is right there. I just knew for a fact that this was going to be the one thing out of an entire year of the weirdest booking and the dumbest decision making that we've seen possibly ever in the WWE, that this one time for John Cena's retirement, a moment that they had planned the entire year. It ain't like they had to scramble at the last minute to put this together. This is something that they had penciled in from the beginning of the year. Because we've been hearing the rumors about Gunther being the opponent pretty much since WrestleMania. So these people have had an entire calendar year, possibly even longer. It shouldn't have been nothing less than a 5-star classic match. That same energy that they put into SummerSlam. But I guess back to the point that I'm making right now, this is Saturday night's main event. This is not even a premium live event. I don't even know what you call this. I guess just a special event or something that they have every few weeks, it seems now. Like, let's even ask ourselves that question. What does Saturday night's main event even mean? And how come we've seen 2 retirements on it in one calendar year? These are things that's supposed to be settled on the biggest stage as possible. We talking about John Cena. See, again, for Goldberg, fine. Do what y'all did. I don't even care. I've moved past that. But now y'all brought me right back, but much worse than before. This is John Cena. Again, he's not my favorite wrestler. He's their guy. The company and most fans worldwide. This is their guy. And Saturday night's main event was the event for him to retire. See, we wasn't even really peeping the signs. Because how was anything less than WrestleMania sufficient enough for John Cena's last match? So I guess I should have known better just off that. Because it occurred to me the night of, like, wait a minute. Because it occurred to me the night of, like, wait a minute. This is just on NBC, which means that we're not even going to get the level of storytelling that we can get. Because this is like a family-friendly station. I guarantee you it wasn't going to be any blood. And not that it had to be. But just to prove my point, you wasn't going to get any blood from any of those matches at Saturday night's main event. Because it's NBC involved. So just off the spirit of that, that also means that you're not going to get the level of competition that we're supposed to get as real wrestling fans. You're going to get the PG version on a program like Saturday night's main event. And that's exactly what we got. At times, the match kind of felt like a big deal. But then when I'm looking at the time that the match started, these people damn near tried to squeeze this match in there at the end of the show. As silly as that seems. But that's what it seems like. It should have been an entire hour, a full hour, 60 minutes devoted and dedicated to whatever had to happen for John Cena's last match. See, it's just the little details, like I always say, that make the biggest impact. And when I'm seeing John Cena about to wrestle at 8:30, that's a red flag. And then the more that this retirement tour wraps up, we just keep hearing some of the damnedest things. Or maybe it's just me. Like this article I read about how John Cena told the WWE that he will be available for over 200 days to compete for his retirement tour. And the WWE / Triple H informed John Cena that they only needed him for about 30 days. I'm just trying to understand, y'all. I'm not here saying that I know everything about this sport and what I'm saying goes. This is just one of the best places to have this conversation unfiltered. And these aren't rumors. Ladies and gentlemen, these are real things happening. John Cena basically wanted to work a full schedule, is what this article was saying. WWE and or Triple H thought that only 30 days was sufficient enough. And I get it. And I know the people with the big brains and the high IQs are going to say things like John Cena couldn't wrestle full time. And this was probably for the best for John Cena to not have to have the pressure of a full-time schedule. All type of things people are going to say to justify it or make it seem justifiable. If John Cena said that, if this is true, and John Cena said that he was good for 200 plus days, then damn it, he should have been used for 200 plus days. In my opinion, the retirement tour shouldn't have been a trip down memory lane. It shouldn't have been all of this nostalgia involved, where he had to have a match against all of his old rivals and foes. Who cares? We've already seen him go against those people 10 times over. We get the picture. And 8 times out of 10, John Cena not only won the battle, but he won the war. I thought the whole point of something like this, a retirement tour with a real legend, is to secure your future. If you're the WWE, this is the time to do that. This is what the last year means for John Cena. He's not going to be back in the ring. So that means they should have been getting all of their potential stars in the ring with John Cena. This should not be this complicated. John Cena had 2 matches with Dominic Mysterio before this retirement match. And some people have celebrated what Dominic Mysterio did with that spotlight. I ain't mad at it. But this is Worldwide Classic. I'm always going to give you a different lens to look through. Dominic Mysterio is already a star as far as I'm concerned. The WWE could try to play that game if they want, like they did him a favor by getting him a match with John Cena. It's cool to have that on the resume. But Dominic is one of these guys, probably one of the only guys, that's solidified and secured for the future. Dominic Mysterio is future proof. This man's a star already. Bret Hart said that Rey Mysterio is the greatest wrestler of all time. I think Bret Hart is in that category. I'm not saying Rey Mysterio isn't. I just like the fact that Bret Hart said that. Dominic Mysterio is Rey Mysterio's son. This is why Dominic Mysterio is naturally a star. Because he's been raised by one of the best that we've ever seen. In every category. In-ring work, IQ, character, you name it. Longevity. This past Monday night, I think Wade Barrett said something that I didn't even really realize at first. It should have been evident. But he said Rey Mysterio was the first and only superstar that's in the Hall of Fame and still wrestling. So I don't expect anything less from Dominic Mysterio. He understands this business better than probably 70% of the people in the WWE, including on the creative. The point of me bringing all those things up were Dominic is already a star. So whether or not he had a match with John Cena, it didn't change anything for Dominic Mysterio. We saw how it changed for Gunther, because Gunther is getting that type of reaction that Dominic Mysterio has been getting from day one, since he turned heel. So my ultimate point with saying these things is, It was other guys that needed matches with John Cena. That desperately needed matches with John Cena. We got to think about something. There's not a lot of real WWE legends left. See, there was a lot of contributing factors as to why this last match for John Cena was more important and more critical than people realize. A few weeks ago, I mentioned wrestlers that are about to retire. But there were a lot of guys that I didn't put on that list. There's a lot of guys who said that they're going to retire since I made that list. Guys like Shinsuke Nakamura. Apparently, he's about to hang it up as well. And now we're getting this report that Brock Lesnar is about to be done next year. The landscape has changed quietly. There's a new day in pro wrestling and WWE. Everybody that we grew up watching in the 90s and the 2000s, they're pretty much on their way out the door. Everybody needed a match with John Cena. Everybody needed a match. I'm going to say it again. Everybody needed a match with John Cena. If you're in the WWE, what are you even there for if they won't put you in the ring with a John Cena? The WWE is saying that they need AI to help them write stories. We see, but really you don't. It's time to start listening to people that have these shows like Worldwide Classic, like all of these other wrestling outlets that speak their mind as well. Because it's kind of interesting how in their world, what I'm about to say sound crazy. But I could almost guarantee you could find you one or two people that talk about wrestling online on a consistent basis, and you give them a year of WWE TV and you let them write some of these stories, and I guarantee you the WWE will improve. And you will see that improvement quicker than you think. But in those true professionals' world, that's insane. But in my world, what I just saw on Saturday night's main event with John Cena smiling while he was getting his choked, that's insane. John Cena reportedly was ready for 200 plus days. And the WWE knocked it down to 30. When you have all of these guys with question marks on them moving forward. We saw Damian Priest on main event. Just regular main event, not Saturday night's main event. The main event where I don't know what the hell day it comes on. It just pops up on YouTube sometime. And the guy that was just the world heavyweight champion about a year or so ago, he's competing on that program. When we don't know when the hell it comes on TV. And I love the damage control they've done for that. Because yesterday I read an article with Damian Priest himself saying that he's been kind of injured. So the WWE is doing him a favor by giving him a lighter schedule. And I mean, hey, if it works for Damian Priest and it helps him sleep at night, then cool. If he knows that he's still going to be in championship contention, fine. I'm just not that optimistic when it comes to WWE. Because if the man is injured and needs a lighter schedule, why in the hell does it have to be on main event? See, sometimes people just say just to try to smooth things over. He could have a lighter schedule on SmackDown. Monday Night Raw, premium live event. I thought a lighter schedule just meant wrestles less. Not just be on some program that we don't know when you wrestle. I didn't know the two of those things were the same. So I'm mentioning Damian Priest because where was his John Cena match? Before Jacob Fatu mysteriously had to vanish for months and almost a year. And the WWE made it seem like he's going to be gone for quite a while. But then, like usual, I read an article recently that's saying he's going to be back sooner than expected. Again, I don't believe in coincidence. Now that the whole John Cena's retirement is wrapped up, now Jacob Fatu will be back sooner than expected. Whatever was going on could have waited. I hate to be that person and just say what should have been and this, that, and the third. But again, you only get one shot at getting a match with John Cena before he retires. Whatever the WWE excuse was for keeping Jacob Fatu off TV, that could have waited a couple of more months. Because after all, we're just talking about his career. How many more legends are even on the table. Randy Orton is about as good as it's going to get for Jacob Fatu at this point. And that's kind of sad when you keep seeing all of the WWE legends be put to sleep and retired by Gunther. I mean, can y'all imagine that? If they have Gunther actually retire Brock Lesnar in 2026 in Brock Lesnar's hometown, when Gunther came to the ring on Monday Night Raw last night, the heat that he got from the crowd and those people booing him the way that they did, that's really aimed and directed at Triple H. Because as we saw at Saturday night's main event, when all the smoke settled, the people let their voices be heard. And they talked all type of shit as far as Triple H is concerned. But I guess at the end of the day, that's why we fans of this shit. Because when it comes to the WWE, you just don't know what the hell's gonna happen.